Congratulations to our witnesses for their nominations to the NCUA and Exim. Credit unions and community banks are vitally important in the state of Georgia, especially when it comes to servicing smaller towns, rural areas. Some are even located in churches. They provide not only checking and savings accounts for their communities, but they help families to afford a mortgage or to afford an automobile for that matter. Small business loans to entrepreneurs to get their companies off the ground. And NDIs and CDFIs also play a key role in this area, servicing communities that otherwise have trouble accessing credit. When COVID-19 began to spread last year, it hit the communities served by these institutions particularly hard and brought into sharp focus the inequities that we see all the time. Mr. Harper, what will you do as head of the NCUA to support these vital sources of basic financial services and capital in underserved areas, and what's your plan?
I completely agree with you about the importance of CDFIs and NDIs. It's that church credit union that's only open for 4 hours on a Sunday. It's making some $4,000 loans on a personal need to somebody to help get them through a hard time or help them to afford something that they need for their family. And we don't want those to go away. First, we are working to increase awareness about MDIs. We actually, this morning, had our third roundtable with regional MDIs out in the Western region, where we're soliciting input from MDIs about how can we improve our MDI program. The board has dedicated to increasing staffing for our MDI program so that we can actually provide more support to minority depository institutions. Interestingly enough, we've actually seen a growth in the number of MDI credit unions during the last year. More have actually self-selected and identified themselves as MDIs. And one of the reasons why is we've been making them aware of the resources that we provide. One last thing on MDIs and their support. We've been pushing for them to use the Emergency Capital Investment Program the Treasury has created. We have quite a few applications from credit unions there to use as secondary capital. And in addition to that, certainly increasing funding for the Community Development Revolving Loan Fund. We dedicate at least 50% of the MDIs that apply will get grants through the Community Development Revolving Loan Fund. If we had more money, we could support MDI efforts better.
Great. I think this is often a missed opportunity, and so I'm grateful for any efforts to lean in there. There's a lot of entrepreneurial interest in many of these communities. Community development opportunities, but the issue is capital often.
Yeah, and I have said repeatedly in speeches, just the numbers of small businesses, of people of color who went out of business at the start of the pandemic. You know, it was 17% of businesses overall, but it was 41% of Black-owned small businesses. I have said credit unions have a moral imperative to step up and help fill that hole. And I have certainly been talking to them about it. I'm certainly working to make sure that they are aware of the programs that can be done to support it. And certainly many of them did step up through the PPP program to provide those short-term temporary loans that help keep many businesses alive and afloat.
And speaking of small businesses, the latest unemployment data for Georgia shows an unemployment rate of 3.5%. Which is lower than it was in March 2020 before the pandemic. The number of unemployed Georgians is now what it was pre-pandemic. So that's good news. And it's indicative that the programs put in place, the CARES Act, actually worked. And this year, the American Rescue Plan solidified those efforts. Still, we're not out of this. There are folks who are still struggling, particularly in our small businesses, and we know that businesses are critical to the American economy, and providing tools to help small business exports will only help in our recovery. Ms. Pryor, between 2014 and 2020, 76% of exporters supported by Exim in Georgia were small businesses. Could you explain to me your commitment to small businesses and how you plan on potentially increasing XM's support of them?
Senator, small businesses have always been a priority for the bank. Last year, in 2020, 90% of the transactions were with small businesses. We have outreach efforts designed to help educate them about the services that are available to them, the tools, if you will, in the U.S. government's toolbox. And what's so important to keep in mind is that with 95% of consumers living outside of U.S. borders, there's tremendous opportunity. And our nation is founded on many small businesses and entrepreneurship. Companies that export tend to grow faster. Their employees tend to make a higher wage. They tend to be more profitable, and they also tend to weather financial crises, such as the COVID-19, better. So, Senator, I would look forward to working with you if I'm confirmed to the position of First Vice President at XM to see how we can continue to keep that number high in Georgia and grow it even further.
I know I'm a little over time, but Mr. Hernstadt, you seem to agree with Ms. Pryor. Can you say something about your own commitment in this regard?
Yes, I believe that small business is a priority at the bank, and if confirmed, I'm looking forward to working with you and your staff and the XM staff to make sure that it's expanded and that more U.S. jobs are supported by more U.S. exports. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thanks.